To everyone, and
Setul, please unmute. Please unmute, Setul.
okay. Can you hear me, sir?
Ha ha.
Okay. Good morning to everyone. I, on behalf of the MIL department, welcome you all to this session webinar on multidisciplinary. I set to learn Indian literary study folklore of the Chagasan Nagas transition from orature to print under the supervisor of Professor P.C. Patnaik. I will be a moderator today. I'm thankful of today's session, the first session of this on 11th, second phase of this 11th session. And today we'll be starting with there will be 4 presenters on today's first session. And before the session starts, I would like to recap the instructions of the go about of today's first session. Before we start our this session, I request all the participants to mute your audio so that there will not be any nuances or disturbances to the presenters. And I also request this to the presenters, the audiences, to construct your question and keep it in the chat box so that we would not have any time constraint. And right after each paper presenters, we will go immediately to the chat box and we will address the questions immediately. And I would like also to give instructions to the paper presenters that before you present your papers, please introduce yourself, and you will be given 20 minutes time of presenting your paper and 10 minutes time for question. So before the 20-minute gets over in 2 minutes, so I request you to adhere to. First of all, may I request the first presenter, Ruchi Rana, to present your paper. Over to you, ma'am. Ruchi Rana.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Hello, Ruchi. Ruchi.
Yes, sir.
Isn't it my paper first? And look at the schedule of 7th.
Sorry, sir, I didn't understand what you said.
Am I audible to you?
Yes, sir, you're audible to me.
Look at the schedule. Whose paper is first?
Sir, I think
it's Ruchi Rana.
It's my paper. I think after me, you have to present.
Oh, sorry. I thought that you are the moderator. So you are the first presenter today.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Sorry for that misunderstanding and interjection. Go ahead, please.
Not at all. Actually, Mandvi is not well. So
sorry.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So that is how it has created. Anyway, don't waste time. Please go ahead.
Okay, sir. So good morning, one and all. I am Ruchi Rana. I'm pursuing a PhD from the Department of Modern Indian Languages and Literary Studies under the supervision of Dr. D. Uma Devi ma'am. And before I begin, I really, even though Patnaik sir is not here, but I will like to extend my heartfelt thanks to him for organizing and providing this platform to which has really worked as a bridge to connect all the people who are working around folklore. So thanks a lot for that. So before I start, I'll share my screen. Sir, is the PPT visible?
Yes, Ruchi.
So I'll start now. So I was just taking care of the time. Okay, so the topic is rhythms of tradition and change in Jagar folk life. I'll begin by just giving a quick kind of telling you what Jagar actually is. Yeah. So, Jagar, it's a ritual that is very popular in the Garhwal division of Uttarakhand state. And the word itself means the state of being awake, and sometimes it is also described as an all night ritual, even though it's performed in daytime also. And the ceremony can go on for several days and even months. So I have defined it as like it's like an admixture of specific kind of dance that is like a possession dance, song and music worship in which the spirits of local deities are invoked in the body of the shaman, the medium, and that can be family member and other people. For example, in the local language, it is they are referred to as Bak. Bak means someone who is an oracle. So the word Jagar basically has different meanings in Garhwali context. It refers to ritual. People might say that Jagar karwana hai, and the Jagar is also referred to as the very particular ritual song genre, the music genre, and also the dance genre, the performance that is played out by the possessed person. So yeah, and you can also see variations of this particular ritual practice across the region. Because my fieldwork was based in Garhwal, I'm using things in Garhwali context, although you may find this practice prevalent in Kumaon region also. But then there is a lot of difference that are attached, language and also other difference related to the different deities and folklore, the deity folklore and myths and beliefs. So sticking to that, but here today I would like to talk about the intermingling and the meeting of folk with mass lore. How it becomes popular, how because of this historical socio-economic condition of migration that is very rampant in the mountain region, and it has created this phenomena of ghost villages. So people are depopulating from rural. So how in this wake of globalization and modern times we see different adaptation of this particular genre of ritual music into different platform. So it has attained certain fluidity in the manner of its reproduction across technological mass media platforms. I'll be discussing those things. And we can say now that Garhwali diaspora has taken this particular genre from the presence of village and brought it to be presented on screen as well as on stage as a culture and religious program, which are made mainly organized in urban milieu. Why I'm saying this? Because one is the stage now how it is theaterized by staged performances, which I call city-based jagers, and also in the regional music industry now, jagar itself is a ritual music category. And migration, how it plays important role here is because the first studios that were really set up was set up in the Tarai region of Dehradun and also in Delhi by the migrant people only. In their homes they used to set up, so it started from a very community centric atmosphere. So moving forward, this is a general breakdown of what jagar is and about the history. So Jagar Geet, you can see this. He's Pritam Bharatwan, the very popular Jagar singer. We need to understand the fact that he kind of moved and traversed along, being just limited to the as a ritual healer, and now he is very popular. So this is the album covers and clips from the music video. So, the technological advancement and commercialization in the world of music made possible the meeting between the two opposites concepts like folk and mass. Similar coexistence could be seen taking place in the music of Garhwal. It won't be wrong to say that the traditions undergo modification in modern society. In the wake of its rise and spread, Garhwali music industry made possible the confluence of the folk culture and mass media, which also stimulated the resurgence of Jagar music and gave impetus to this adaptation. So Preetham Bharatwan is known to be one of the leading musicians. He has been featured on many album covers, one you can see on your screen right now, and from cassettes to VCDs to DVDs, they all have been very prevalent till a few years back in their respective growth periods. It is a dawn of new media rise up, which made possible the modern cultural reproduction of this of the tunes, rhythm, repertoires that reverberated only in the musical ecosystem of this native place, but become part of the industrial process later on. So folk music turned into mass produced individualized commodity. Now you can, click to the YouTube and go and see the video in your home setting. The media culture that has prospered over many decades continues to capture the attention and imagination of Gadwali diaspora in different parts of the world. Music albums are created in the technological atmosphere of the recording studio located in urban centers like Delhi and Dehradun and others also. Popular Jagar songs get composed, edited, packaged, and finally circulated in the form of musical commodities. This process is a modern example of coexistence between folklore and mass media, which has resulted in giving new life to the traditional music. The word Jagar Sangeet, which back in the days was only recognized as a vital part of ritual ceremony, is now an umbrella term. That the ethnomusicologist Stephen Fiole, in his book Recasting Folk in the Himalayas, he described Jagar song now in the present context as a banner under which the distinctive spirituality of Uttarakhand is marketed. The folk music has a cathartic quality. I remember Urvashi talking about this yesterday, and that relieves tension of separation of those who have left uh, because of forced migration in their past. Some get reminded of old memories of ritual in their village by repeated listening to these recorded versions. And as far as the view of preserving folk music is concerned, the process of continuity of tradition is achieved in the mass media reconstruction of Jaga music. Popular Jagar music videos are basically picturized as you saw in this slide. They are how they are picturized. You can see different paraphernalia, like all the objects are used. So it is to make the whole atmosphere of the person who is watching more authentic, so that he can connect with that, memories is in his mind. So Bharatwan has used the music of other non-native percussions in the soundtrack. Bharatwan has modified Jagar songs by incorporating new techniques, and but he was not the first one to actually commercialize this. He just followed the footstep of his gurus, and in the 1980s, who started in 1980s making these videos. And yet Bharatwan pioneered a very unique style of presenting Jagar that can be contrasted with those earlier singers. So Bharatwan, he used to select 5 or 10 minutes of excerpts from several different Jagars and the narratives of those old folk epics, and present these as independent tracks. He has definitely modernized the instrumentation of his recordings while maintaining the use of hurka and thali. These are native instruments that are played to invoke the possession that happens, which I've talked about at length in my MPhil thesis. So, due to the limited time frame of a music video, the commercial Jagar songs are short version. They are curtailed version of the long folk epic. So, the script of the song is produced under the supervision of singer, who chooses suitable excerpts from the folk epic. As per the contemporary scene, the composer works according to the standards of the music industry. You can see these are other glimpses, and here you can see very interestingly, this is Stephen Fiole. Actually, this is the ethnomusicologist. He was part of. So what I'm trying to say is how rhythmically tradition and change goes along with each other. And you can see his intervention is different. Like, I'm still trying to study what other context, or how Jagar has expanded to other areas as far as performance is concerned, because he is not a Bajgi men. Basically, Bajgi men, it's the community, the lower caste community musicians who are basically supposed to perform this music only. So, as far as performance is also concerned, this it has in the modern times really expanded. Yeah. So. Um, For the music videos, I can say that these are a pre-mediated soundtracks, so prepared by the musician who select appealing portions from the old epics. An album song of Jagar is always based on the sung narrative about a local deity, only one deity. But as far as the actual ceremony is concerned, different deities can be invoked. So simultaneous possession can happen in one setting. So that's the difference. So media is an integral part of folklore today. Linda Day said this, and at present, and really applies to Jagar folk life, I believe. And at present, Jagar music is linked both to ritualistic as well as modern musical processes. Due to its adaptation in the okay, so due to its adaptation in the new musical space, it has become both local and global in its reach. So this happens when folk become popular. So it has not helped. Yeah, it has helped in saving the folklore from obliteration, because as I mentioned about migration, um, so the folklore and folk life in the modern world get expressed through different means, but allows folk artists like Bharatwan to use media platform to resurrect, reconstruct, maintain, and creatively express folklore. As we see that Jagar is also, Bharatwan is also modifying it and making it the genre, curtailing it, and using other non-native percussion instrument in the musical tracks. So yeah, the folklore does get changed in that sense, to adapt to the new rhythms of life of around the community, and what its needs and demands are in the modern world. So this has created, so these visuals are very interesting. These visuals are from University of Cincinnati, Ohio, US. You can see Bharatwan here with Stephen Fiol performing for a white audience. So that's a different expansion, but we only see this in the context of Bharatwan only. It's not like other ritual singers are able to achieve this kind of expansion of Jagar, to a different, completely different audience. So it has expanded in as far as it's from a learning engagement, we can say, with the researcher. um, yeah, so in this way, we can see that how albums are an example of music created from the mingling of mechanical and artisanal systems in the region and outside, uh, such that musical productions have carved out a strong consumer base, which has helped in taking out the dying folklore from oblivion and to be utilized for a broader cultural expression. Expanding this view, we have the um, folklorist Toril Selberg in his essay, pointing out this flexibility and fluid quality of folklore that renders it to transform itself according to perceptible changes emerging in society. So, I quote, industrialization and the development of technological media do not necessarily imply the end of a given folk culture. The study of contemporary folklore encompasses a vast array of old and modern expressive behaviors, texts, contexts, and in the modern world, cultural products are communicated both by oral and technological media. So, this is what at least I'm trying to explain with the expansion and this rhythmic journey of tradition and change as far as Jagar folk life is concerned. Now moving forward to talk about another, you know, modern mode that Jagar is being expressed into. So these I call city-based Jagar events. You can see in the pictures. These are pictures from my own fieldwork in Delhi, capturing how the community kind of comes together, and this particular ritual music is played out in urban setting on a stage. So what are the implications of some if something like this happens? So these are scenes from the city based Jagar event in Delhi. Yeah, so 6 minutes left, so I'll just move forward. So you can definitely, I've explained about how folk tradition and mass culture are contradictory terms, but they merge, they come together. There is coexistence, intermingling between these two. As far as tradition, how tradition will survive otherwise? So that's the relevance of new modes also that we are kind of contemplating with. If I remember, so many esteemed guests and speakers have talked about, like Jyotirmay Pradhani sir, even Patnaik sir also. So moving forward, yeah. So you can refer to different theories. In past, Jawaharlal Nehru in his book Folklorismus, Indian Folklore and Mass Culture talks about this concept of folklorismus, and there are other concepts that emerged in the folkloristic discipline, like folklorismus, folklorisms. And Dina Rogensky is Israeli folklorist. Her work is very similar to mine, but in Israeli context, and I see it is a little detached, but she gives the concept of, like how I'm giving the concept of rhythms in the context of Jagar folk life. She's giving the context of synchronicity within the actual original folklore, and what she calls folklorisms. So yeah, moving forward, these are some other pictures. So city-based Jaga programs, they are a dramatic expansion of the religious world and of the community, and through which the most effective ritual music is presented on stage. Jaga takes a new form, coming in contact with the metropolis polis culture. The stage singing by Jagri is roughly based on the popular music video. For an event like this, different modern means are used, like speakers, microphones, projection screens, and it requires stage setting, actors, music accompanist, camera technicians, other things, which kind of triggers the change in the new mode. Yeah. So many days before, these are banners. So these are banners to kind of, which are stick around the venue and other places where the migrants basically inhabit. Um, so I can say that its performance connects people with the realm of local deities in these city performances. And it's kind of a didactic space also for the younger generation to acquaint themselves about the culture and tradition of the native place. So definitely, from just being a ritual music to a large umbrella term to, you know, connote to culture also and other specific features relevant to the region. So it means more than that in the new mode. Yeah. So we can see that the loss of social networks and support caused due to migration is also mended and re-established during such time when people meet, interact, and exchange experiences. And to assert one's cultural identity, the first step is to familiarize oneself about the culture. So these spaces provide that atmosphere for the migrants. And city jagar or similar religious cultural events are great platforms of cultural learning. For the local audience to attend these programs is to protect and preserve the ways of their culture. And these changes have allowed Jaga singers to transcend from the ambit of their limited role as ritual healers, and also provided them chances of social upliftment, of upward social mobility. And many popular Jagar singers in this profession have received an elevation in their social status, which is very important to preserve an art. How else would the local art survive? So these is another change that I witnessed. Like women, otherwise traditional Jagri singers are Bajgi men only, but now this has expanded. But I can say that this particular democratization and women folk artists are also kind of performing Jagar on stage. So this, we can say this, that it's definitely democratization that is only mass media actuated. We really need to put focus on this point, because in the ritual settings, still strict convention follows and change has not been seen on, in that sense in the ritual setting, but the change is only mass media actuated. But I'll be really interested to see and follow these women to see how, if they play in the actual ritual setting, because it was bizarre to see Stephen Fiol. He sent me the recording of him from Chamoli village. He was playing the ritual music there. So it's not just in an academic research engagement oriented atmosphere. This ethnomusicologists get this intervention doing a project with Preetam Bharatwan. So it will be very interesting for me to look at this from this angle. If women folklore folk artists are also kind of traveling across different modes as well, that will be very interesting to see. Yeah. So I think it's time to conclude. 19 minutes. So I'll just conclude in 2 minutes. So in conclusion, I will like to say that the performance of Jagar songs on stages at cultural and religious functions organized by Migrant Collective in Delhi is an outcome of a nostalgic continuation of tradition and connected to the desire to remain attached with one's identity. Whereas in the digital realm, the dissemination of the audio video recorded versions of the ritual music transmitted online depict new dimension of confluence between folklore and mass media. So Jagar music is in the expressive modes, in these new modes, are examples of mass media intervention of folklore. And each one in their respective cases generate new learning and cathartic context, especially for the migrated population, but it's not restricted to this. Yeah. But to them it's definitely happening in positive terms. This draw attention to the fact that these new models are vital means for those who want to reconnect with their roots. And what we see is the revival of Jagar contents in ways suited to the contemporary standards of consumer base, the consumer class which is now displaced and living in assimilated cultural situation of an urban space. And in the modern world, the survival of tradition for longer duration would be impossible without its practitioners and specifically the community having a tolerant outlook. So it's because of the community this change is also incorporated and assimilated with open arms. uh, so yeah, so Preetam Bharatwan, in his interview, talked about these changes and his movement across different modes, from being a ritual healer to now a popular singer, and now research-oriented engagement with Stephen Fiol and University of Cincinnati, Ohio. And they also traveled across universities in different musical departments to perform Jagar. And different students, like white students, are also learning this folk art. So he told me that Gadwali folklore can never die in life. The soul of folk can never die. However, sometimes commercialization may emerge as a dominant thing going around in society. But even then, the original aesthetics or soul of folk music cannot completely die. In this statement, we need to focus it that it's from the perspective of the performer himself, and he's now pointing at the pliability of folklore in the face of changing times. Folklore convergence with new media technology produces adaptive mass material disseminated to wider and larger diversely characterized audience. In fact, mass media reproduction of Jagar Geet has led to its popularization among Garhwali people, living both inside and outside the region. Technological advances in the globalized world, the rise of regional music industry, as well as proliferation of Jagar music as a staged performance,
I'm
have all
extremely
played
sorry,
a
Archie. Can
role
you
in
please wind up your
definitely.
paper?
Yes.
I'm extremely sorry, but can you please wind up your paper because it's
Sure, definitely,
time is up.
definitely. I'll just now move ahead to discuss the main idea of this paper.
Okay.
The word rhythm that I used, the rhythm is a musical word itself, and it suggests harmony. So, and also I see harmony between in the globalized world between tradition and change. That's why I use the word in the title. So, the idea of rhythm signify to me mutual relation between multiple versions of Jagar folk life, and further helps to understand and reveal the empirical conditions in which versions of folklore, both old and new, are negotiated. And sometimes they may overlap also, intertwine or interdepend in the new life processes adopted by the community. Because I saw, later I realized in the aftermath of my fieldwork, that I saw in the ritual setting before the preparation, people were playing Preetam Bharatwan song, the modern song. So there is obviously a negotiation and overlap. It's not just the coming to the urban settings, migrated people triggered this kind of change and new modes. or expression of Jagar. But in the rural setting, our rural landscape is also changing. It's not just the urban world has like urban settings has kind of changed due to globalization, but rural is also adapting to that change. So this is the main kind of how I have theorized and contextualized this thing, that different multiple versions of folk, old and new, they negotiate, overlap, interdepend, and intertwine themselves. And yeah, the newer models are basically, I see them as alternatives. These newer models, whether stage performances or audiovisual music videos of Jagar, and they are as a bridge. They are alternatives to bridge the chasm created due to our ever changing times, and they are also solutions to overcome our detached life in urban spaces. While the old remain valuable, however less popular, but will remain the root one would always trace back to. And not just urban is responding, as I mentioned, rural is also responding. That's why I say overlap, interdependency. Thank you. I end here.
Thank you, Ruchirana, for your insightful visualistic presentation. Through your paper, you have explored the changes and continuity of the Jagar folk song and the two opposite concepts of folk and masses, and also covers the issue of the migration of Karwal and the impact of their relocation. And you also has enlightened us about the change in folklore of the Jagar, and specifically looking at the theme of the cultural memory with practices and nostalgic representation of the new emerging cultural texts. Now, moving on to chat box, there are some few questions. Um, yes, ma'am. Yeah. Okay. There's the question from Ma'am Ratnatama Das, that the modern day Jagar in urban setup spoil the essence of tradition way performing it. What is your opinion about it? Ma'am Ratnatama Das has
Thank you for your
given you
question, ma'am.
question.
Yeah. So, as I said, that in the new modes, its meaning also expand. It does not remain only a ritual music. It has become a larger kind of a space that provides different meanings to the migrant community. And also it doesn't spoil the essence of traditional way, because migrants do, they every year they do go to their ritual to perform the ritual in their respective villages. So what I'm saying through this word rhythm, that there is interplay and overlap of they go, they visit their village also to perform, but there is a new mode, they also long for it. When they are, it's not possible all the time to go back and travel to village to have this experience. So these new modes are providing like a larger kind of cultural context. The meaning of Jagar itself expands to incorporate other cultural aspect of community's identity. So I'm not saying that it kind of spoils the essence of the traditional way. The traditional way remain the same, people do go, but sometimes when they are not able to go, these modes really provide them to connect back to the roots. So I think, yeah, this is.
Okay, thank you, Richard. I hope that suffices the questions of ma'am. And there is another suggestion that the term musical reproduction is not correct. That's a suggestion from MIL. And there is a question from Vatsala Reddy Nagapatla. I'm sorry if I have mispronounced the name. The individual attempts may change the very definition of folklore. These attempts may be called popular rather than folk in transformation. How would you like to see as a scholar?
Sorry, I didn't.
The individual attempts may change the very definition of folklore. These attempts may be called
Your
popular
voice.
rather than see a scholar. How would you like to see as a scholar?
Is it the question by Dr. Priyanka Sharma you're referring to?
No, it's Bhattavatsala Reddy Nagapatla.
I can't see his question actually. So can I first answer Priyanka's question?
Ruchi, I think Sar must have sent to say
Okay,
through.
yes, for Priyanka. There's time. Let me.
Okay. It's a direct
You can
message.
Yes,
repost. You can
since
repost that
there's
same.
So please
time
post it
constraint,
so that I can also read. Yeah.
can you please go ahead with Dr. Priyanka Sharma Ruchirana, because there's
So
time
she
constraint.
wants to ask that how do the local community feel about Jaga being performed on the modern? I just said that they take it in positive terms. They are the ones who created it. Like I'm saying that it's community centric because the creator are from the community itself. It's not like fake. If we talk about how fake lore is, how the folklore is talked about for fake lore. So it's very community centric and it responds to their own nostalgia and emotions that they feel disconnected after their displacement from the place. So it has a newer expansion of understanding for the community itself. Yeah, and a larger meaning beyond ritual music. How the powers of healing and divine connection are interpreted in the local belief in relation to this change. Yeah, I think that is I consider as the scope of this my work. I will definitely kind of work around this particular aspect. I did saw this kind of invocation and happening during the staged performances also, but that is a very complex situation because a ritual setting in an isolated village, you know about the performer also. There are but in urban setting you don't know who is coming, who is going out, so I cannot just run behind them and take interviews. So but that can be my future aim to understand that kind of invocation and how local beliefs responds to in a changed setting. Yeah, I think I answered your question.
Okay. Thank you, Ruchi. They are
I want to answer to Bhaktaval Reddy sir's question. Yeah, wait,
okay.
I can't see it.
Um, okay, since there's time constraint, we'll just go
No
ahead with the
problem.
next
No
presenter, and
problem.
you can
I'll
just
mail
share
you.
them in the
No
chat
problem.
box. I hope that will be fine with you, and you can also go through the comments that they have given to you, their comments and their appreciation. So you can go through in the chat box. Because there's time constraint, we'll go ahead with the second presenter. Well, once again, thank you, Ruchirana, for
Thank
your
you.
wonderful
Thank you for giving
presentation.
this opportunity.
Now, I will go ahead with the second presenter. Now I give time to Dr. Rajendra Mehta. Sir, you may take your time.
Good morning, everybody. Am I audible and visible to everybody?
Yes, sir. It's audible.
Okay. Let me just, hello. Am I audible to everyone?
Yes, it's audible, sir. You can go ahead.
Okay. Because of, some echo, I am actually trying to, fix that. I think. Hi, good morning, everyone. I am Dr. Rajendra Mehta. I teach Gujarati and comparative Indian literature in the department of MIL, Delhi University. I will be presenting my paper on folk arts of Saurashtra region, performance, patronage, and preservation. Now I'm sharing my screen, and whenever it is visible to all of you, please tell me, because I am doing it for the first time. Has it been shared?
Continue, sir. Continue.
No,
It
sir,
is,
we
it is
cannot see your
visible.
screen now. You can continue.
No, it is visible.
Yes, now it's visible.
Make it slideshow,
Okay, fine.
sir.
Okay, fine.
Make it slideshow, sir. Full screen.
Isn't it a full screen?
No, full screen. You click on slideshow.
Okay,
the
but
bottom,
let the people read the first slide.
Okay, continue, sir. Okay.
Am I audible to everyone?
Yeah, audible. Please continue, sir.
There is some yeah. So the topic is folk arts in Saurashtra of Saurashtra, folk arts of Saurashtra region, performance, patronage, and preservation. So this area is small. The 1/3 part of the state of Gujarat, and here is the slide. I mean, in this slide you can see the political map of Gujarat, and this is the area of Saurashtra, which has been shown in the next slide. This is the slide. These are the 11 districts of Saurashtra region. Prior to 2014, there were 6 districts now, which has been uh, converted into 11 districts after creating 5 new districts because of all political reasons. And this the green, the district in green, which you can see, it's this is the Arabian Sea. This is the area of this is Bhavnagar district, which is not readable, but I belong to that area. And in the next slide, this is the aerial image, the satellite image of Saurashtra region. And here where my mouse is roaming, that is the Gir forest area, the one and only shelter for the Asiatic lion. And we have the one and only Gir National Park of Asiatic lion. And these are the communities living inside the area of Saurashtra. See, one important community is Ahir, and these are the this is a representative picture of that community. You can see 2 women in the typical attire of Ahir community. The another important community living inside the Saurashtra area, and particularly the Asiatic Lions Shelter Gir National Park. The another community is Bharwad. This is a cattle keeper or a pastoral community, which preserves the original taste of folklore of this region. The third one is Rabari. This is also a pastoral community. You can see the image of one woman in the typical attire, the traditional costume of Rabari community. The second is also belong to the Rabari community. The third important community in this area is called Mer. This is a very important community in the districts of Porbandar and Junagadh. Porbandar, everyone is aware of. That's the birthplace of Mahatma Gandhi. And this is a pastoral come agrarian community. And this is the common picture in which you can find various tribal people of various tribes from Saurashtra in their typical and conventional outfits. And this is the colorful costume of the Garba. And here is the Garbi. See, there are 2 folk dances called Garba and Garbi. Garba is a dance in which both man and women can jointly participate. It could be, commercially organized, or it could be organized by a local body or a local mandal or organization. The second one is Garbi. In this picture, you can see a wooden mounted stand of Navadurga, and this Garbi being circulated around this stand is called Garbi, which is a circular dance performed surrounding the wooden stand mounted Garbi. And this is the traditional Garba also known as ancient Garba, in the conventional outfit with a Garbhadeep on the heads of women folk. And you can see that this typical street Garba, this is not a commercial. See, we have two type of Garba and Garbi performances. One is being organized by the professional or commercial organizers, in which a huge number of people can buy the entry pass or entry ticket and can participate in a huge number. And the popular performance, the performers used to sing, and the professional orchestra used to play the music. So this is the Garba, which you must have seen in many Bollywood pot boiler, right from Saraswati Chandra Mehto Bhool Chali Babul Ka Desh, from the 2013 most controversial film by Sanjay Leela Bhansali, Koliyo Ki Ras Leela, Ram Leela, and also a few in the 1998 same Sanjay Leela Bhansali's debut movie Hum Dil De Chuke Sanam. So and also in the few television serial which presents Gujarati culture. The second important dance is called Dhamal dance. This is a conventional folk performance by the people who are settled in the jungle of Gir forest from 11th to 12th century. These are the people from some African country, the nomadic tribe. They even don't know from which country they exactly belong to. But this became, from last 800-900 years, this became a Gujarati performance, Dhamal dance. The Dhamal dance is being performed only by men. The performance is full of power and pace. And they used to break the coconut by head at the end of the performance. The mystic rhythm of the Sanghari dhol gives a goosebump effect to the audience. Sanghari dhol is, it creates a sound which you must have listened in all kind of, horror and haunting movies. It's a slight of mystic. It's a mixture of mystic and horror sound. And the highlight of Dhamal dance is Dhamal dance reminds us the primitive culture of Africa. The cities, I mean the African people with their typical color stone, they are known as cities. They are believed to be the semi-nomadic tribe. The cities habitating in Gir forest perform it with original wildness and vigor. Dholki, a big dhol, and shehnai are used as musical instruments. This dance form is now popular throughout the country, and there are several troops who used to go and perform even in India International Center, India Habitat Center, in Siripot Auditorium, and they used to represent Gujarat in many other countries also. You can see a still from Dhamal performance, how it is colorful and powerful as well. This is the picture of a Prachin Garba in traditional costumes. We have two type of Garba. One is Prachin Garba, in which the song which is being recited by the performer, by the singer, vocalist, the writer is unknown because it is folk. And in Arvachin Garba, there is a particular writer who writes Garba as per the requirement of the tune of the music composer or the organizer. Apart from this, dance, we have another important performance called Akhyana. Here is the portrait of Mahakavi Premanand of medieval Gujarati literature. Akhyana is invented by the first poet performer Mahakavi Premananda. This is one of the popular forms of folk performance. And these are the characteristics of Akhyana. Akhyana is a form of performance by one person as well as by a troupe. That means it can be performed by a person single-handedly, or it can be performed by a troupe. There are some popular Akhyanas in Gujarati like Sudama Charitra, Nalakhyan, Dashamaskand, Ranayagya, Okhaharan, Kuvar Bainu Mameru. These are a few Akhyana written and presented by Premananda. And the new age Akhyana is Ramdev Pir Akhyana, which is a modern Akhyana, and it communicates the message of communal harmony, which is very, very important nowadays. I mean, in general and in particular, Gujarat, because Gujarat is famous for wrong reasons so far as the communal harmony is concerned. The second important form of pop art as well as the folk art is Dairo. Dairo is the most popular form of folk literature in Saurashtra, mostly presented by Gadvis or the other artists. Gadvi is a particular community called Charan, and this community is also there in Rajasthan. And there was a Charan writer, very famous writer called Vijaydan Detha. So he belongs to this Charan community, which is a courtier community. Actually, it's a primarily it was a monopoly of a community called Charans or Gadvis. In modern times, artists from all communities and castes have actively begun performing it. This is the most popular form uh, in Gujarati diaspora across the globe, and the artists are invited by the diasporic Gujaratis in the USA, the UK, and African countries wherever the Gujarati diaspora community is settled. Uh, in this form of dairo, the artist, along with the accompanist who play the harmonium, violin, tabla, and cymbals, presents tragic stories of medieval times. These stories deal with the themes of sacrifice, tragic love story of the or the bravery of a local king or the outlaws, as well as you people have seen the images of the topography and terrain of this region, Saurashtra. We have the Gir National Park, and inside this there are these three communities: Ahir, Bharwad, and Rabari. They used to live inside the woodland of Gir. And since all these three communities are pastoral communities, most of the time the lion attacks on their livestock. And many a times, a young girl from this community used to save the livestock, and the performer of this dairo form used to recite the bravado of the young girl from one of the communities who saves her livestock from the attack of a lion or a group of lions. The purpose to make the audience laugh, cry, and applaud through a hypnotic way of presentation, music, and voice modulations. Sometimes more than one artist or a group of artists presents the dairo. Now, being the most popular and more easily available or freely available to the audiences, this very form of folk performance is being manipulated by the artist in the terms of using the platform for non-artistic meanings. For example, uh, this is the process of politicization and projection. From the early 90s, Dairo started becoming a platform for all kinds of election campaigns used by all the political parties. The politicization has spoiled the originality and the form of the folk form. Now, interestingly, one more thing I would like to add here, that in the early 90s, when the satellite television emerged on the scene, most of the TV channels started their Gujarati language channels, and they have started inviting the performers to give 1 hour or 2 hour programs on their local Gujarati channels. Now, if they have to, perform for 2 hours, it cannot work if they recite only the conventional or the traditional stories. So they started, editing it and started adding the contemporary issues that has spoiled the original stories. The political party sponsorship has also spoiled this. Political parties sponsor and organize dairo. The artists stop the performance in between, and the party leaders take over the stage to deliver speeches, campaign, and appeal to the audience for the votes. And this has damaged the documentation. The sponsorship received by the artist makes them personify the candidate as a local deity or a great national leader, and thus impacting their psyche. After 2002, every single performer of Dairo started portraying Narendra Modi, the then Chief Minister of Gujarat, as the Iron Man or the Chote Sardar or the Hindu Hriday Samrat, which has actually detested the the conventional and the ancient form. Now, since they used to record the performances, the DVDs are available everywhere, and such projection and politicization damages the documentation of the original story. They used to add turns and twists in the original theme to fit the character of the candidate. The candidate of any election, maybe a local self-government election or the general elections of Lok Sabha or the assembly, they used to portray the candidate as a great philanthropist or a great social worker or something like that. And these twists and turns without logic make it, ridiculous, laughable, and it's also injustice to the popular form. And there is a 17th century popular tragic story of Odha Jam and Hothal Padmani. This is very, very interesting. That Odha Jam is a king of a small princely state in Kutch who comes to hunt the lion in the Gir forest, and he lost the direction because the GPS was not at that point in time. He lost somewhere. There he met a beautiful woman called Hothal. He married to Hothal, who is as beautiful as Padmani. Padmani is the Apabhramsha of Padmini. They got married, and after a few months, when the monsoon settled, when the peacock started calling the clouds, the protagonist Odha Jam started feeling homesick. And at this point, the performance used to sing
Excuse me, sir.
a song from, sorry.
Sir, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Please wind up your paper in 2 minutes time.
Yeah, it's only 1 minute. I know. So they used to sing a song called Man Mor Bani Than Gaat Kare, which is very, very popular song, and that has been also used by Sanjay Leela Bhansali in the beginning of his 2013 film Goliyon Ki Ras Leela. I have given the YouTube links to see, which is actually a song written by Rabindranath Tagore with the title Navabarsha, and translated into Gujarati or adapted into Gujarati by our great folklorist Javed Chand Meghana in 1944 after the death of Rabindranath Tagore. But everyone started, considering this folk song, considering this song as a folk song. They forgot that this is not the folk song, but it is the original work of Tagore. So this is the height of, politicization and height of the popular mode that everyone has started twisting the original folk stories of from 14th century to 17th century and started adding all these postmodern things in order to make money out of it. And that has spoiled, and the new generation started believing that all these characters like the Hindu Hriday Samrat Narendra Modi and the other candidates are the actual character of that original folk story, and it's very, very difficult to make them understand. So the popular culture and folk culture should go hand in hand, but here the see, it is reverse. The popular culture has took over the folk art of Gujarat and particularly the Saurashtra region. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your taking us to see the beautiful life of Saurashtra and your lively pictures presentation. You have enlightened us about the uniqueness of the various folk arts and performing tradition. You also have brought us to our knowledge about this region, how this folk art is at stake when it changes its nature from a valuable performance to politicization. Thank you, sir, once again. Now, I would like to take a question. Is there, if there's anyone who would like to
बोला विलेज अज्ञात में 10 थे बरोबर टाइम में थे हेलो
Mehta sir, there's one question for you from Ruchi Rana. What are the steps taken to preserve this folk art?
Yes. May I answer now?
Yes, sir. Please do.
Yeah. See, there is a center established by the state government in association with Saurashtra University, Rajkot, with the name of Jhaverchand Meghani Lok Sahitya Kendra. They have started, making the systematic documentation of all the medieval and ancient stories by taking the help of the performers who are not getting it politicized. So now after 2013, 2014, the government has woke up and started making the systematic documentation of the folk forms and folklore with the help of a few senior folklorists and also some good translators, and the team of Jhaverchand Meghani Kendra is now active in the documentation.
Thank you, sir. I hope that suffices the questions to this Racharana. If there's any question, you can please drop your questions to the chat box. If there is none, then we would move on to the next presenters. Thank you, Mehta sir, for your wonderful presentation. And we will move on to the next presenter, Ms. Sanjita Naskar. You can take over your time.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am. I am Sanjukta Naskar. I teach English in the English department of Janki Devi Memorial College, Delhi University. I have completed my PhD from Jawaharlal Nehru University, and the title of my thesis was The Folklore and the Folk Culture of Bengal from Ritual Tales to Rupkatha. Okay, so today I do not have a PPT per se, but I would like to show a couple of images towards the end of my presentation. So I will be just reading, my paper. So here goes. So the title of my paper that I'm going to present today is Pandemic and Narratives, the Importance of Stories We Tell. Stories are an integral part of human life and constitute means for the tellers to express and negotiate their personal experiences. Stories also create social structures and stereotypes on which communities, castes, professions, racial identities are formed. These stories become social and cultural artifacts, which help us, in some sense, to understand the way concepts of identities and community constructs are created, stabilized, and passed on. In the meantime, a lot of changes take place, and then a lot of things remain the same. Similarly, stories that are in circulation persist or modify with or without changes and adapt and appropriate along the way. In my paper, I wish to analyze the very nature of story formation, which can also be alternated as narratives, fictions, personal anecdotes, and so on. I'll be taking the recent example of the pandemic and the mass migration of the migrant laborers from their city of work to their city of origin as a means to focus on the multiple roles that narratives carry in social life. Stories emerge through various forms, like testimonies and images of families who have migrated and from people who have been indirectly impacted by migration, And this would be through migrant friends, neighbors, employers, classmates of migrant children, and so on. These stories build empathy, challenge and dismantle prejudices and discrimination towards the migrant families, and sometimes become a source of acceptance. Migration stories also carry the prejudice of being stories of victims by those that see the migrants as economic contributors, no doubt, but also as an economic liability upon the limited resources that a city produces. For researchers, these stories therefore become a site to examine the meanings, individually or collectively, which ascribe to a lived experience of the migrant laborers. Narratives are not transparent renditions of truth, but reflect a dynamic interplay between life, experience, and story. Placed in their wider socio-political and cultural contexts, stories can provide insights into how forced migrants seek to make sense of displacement, violence, and then also to re-establish their identity in the ruptured life courses and communities, or bear witness to violence and repression. Research on migrant narratives is broadly divided into two categories. One is identity and representation of migrants. Two, storytelling practices among communities. Stories constitute a way of sharing experience of the past, which exists in the form of memories, or in recent times of recollecting important emotional or traumatic events in the context of everyday life. Literary theorists such as Brunner and Mischler in 1986 emphasized that the narrative's importance is a mode of understanding. And this, in turn, aims to highlight the potential of storytelling in providing a voice to the minorities and to socially isolated communities to be authors of their own version of their experiences. Oftentimes, they are themselves the protagonists, and their narratives of dislocation, displacement, and relocation offer a counterbalance to the negative and prejudiced views about the marginalized groups. Here, two essential categories emerge in the context of the nature of storytelling. One is the type of representation that the migrant communities construct about their identities through their stories. Two, storytelling becomes or is a community practice, encouraging camaraderie and harmonious coexistence. And third, there is a body of work which focuses on storytelling centered on migrants, but is narrated by external bodies. The study of stories told by migrants upon avenues to study regional languages and requires researchers to be proficient native speakers. Now, this is something that as researchers, one has to constantly face. These studies investigate how language plays a very important role in relating language learning to other experiences, such as work, and how such representations relate to identity construction and identity categories. The spoken language shows appropriation, acquisition, mastering of resources, and also provides the migrants with the symbolic power of narrative. Taking the example of Delhi, migrants who have moved to the capital city, and that not just today, I mean, at least 10, 12 years, mostly. I mean, the people who've moved out would be the migrant laborers who've moved out of Delhi during post the lockdown, would be people who would have settled in Delhi something like close to 10 to 15 years. These migrants have not only moved to the capital city, but have appropriated the language, but have used evaluation, constructed dialogue, and emotional devices to express agency and victimization in order to gain a foothold in their narrative. Ana de Fina, in her 2003 study of Mexican migrants, showed that, and here I am quoting, migrants demonstrated a marked collective orientation in their narratives and underplayed their own agency as individuals. They also demonstrated strategic and complex identification with different communities in their negotiations with the interviewers about the meaning of stories, and a newly acquired sense of ethnicity, which is a product of the migration experience. So the narratives told by the same people living in the city that they have shifted to work would be very different from the narrative that they would be perhaps narrating back in their home city or hometown or home village. So recent studies in migration discourse focused on the role of space and place as fundamental constructs of narrative construction of identities and for making sense of experiences, which is defined by mobility and dislocation. Defina, and I quote again, has also demonstrated how space coordinates constitute a fundamental axis in narratives of disorientation told by migrants about their border crossing experiences, and how discussion and clarifications about places can also become an important terrain for the negotiation of identities. Close quote. In a recent webinar titled Migration and Precarity in the Context of COVID-19, Professor Priya Deshinkar spoke about the humongous number of undocumented migrants working in big cities. Their sudden appearance, this sudden appearance of the migrant laborers out of the metropolitans and their arduous journey back on foot ended equally obscurely with an unceremonious return to their native villages. These narratives would be narratives of at-homeness and displacement, of betrayal, of fleeing an uncertain life, and exposure to their precariousness for the rest of the world. It is a visual experience of how fragile and unstable our lives are. The incredible sights of the emerging migrant workers from the woodwork, so to speak, has opened up a formidable vision for the sheer number of unaccounted for migrant labor workers living in the cities. Perhaps it would not be too daring to say that, had it not been for the pandemic, then perhaps we would have remained oblivious of the astronomical number of unaccounted for migrant workers. The long walk home and the unimaginable difficulties, along with the shattered dreams and hopes and the uncertainties of the life ahead, would be expressed in narratives of pain and suffering. The nature of narratives are not like television interviews. The stories are built through representation, through imbibing the pain and reflected in a more structured way. Stories may be fictitious, but they exist. Nobody can authenticate and nobody need authenticate. These stories emerge out of personal experiences expressed through stories. The entire body of work would be a great pointer to the lived experience and emotional turmoil. Another aspect of narrative would be photographs, painting, sculpture as way of eliciting stories, accounts, and expressions through art forms. Past research has shown that migrants create complex temporal and spatial configurations by exploiting the relation between present and past in the context of the telling and the told. The pandemic has brought forth a rather curious situation where perhaps the idea of displacement is temporary, since many social scientists believe and say that migrant laborers are probably returning to their place of work with the lifting of the lockdown restrictions. Scholars who have been researching in this area feel that stories and storytelling focus exclusively on the moment of telling. The stories that will emerge will carry the pain and anguish and be a permanent marker upon the effects of the pandemic-created lockdown. The narratives will also empathize and represent diverse groups in their times of shared crisis. It is important, therefore, to note the nature of the migration and the suddenness of the nature of the migration, which in this case would be motivated by a very fundamental cause of survival and sustenance. Research on narrative in this sense and of collective narratives linked with political decisions arising out of health concerns, services, typically investigate the intertextual nature of national narratives, tropes, or stories about groups of people which are linked to history and time and used to construct and protect formation of myths, beliefs, and religious configurations of national group or identity. Stories about gods and goddesses, and here I digress a little bit, stories about gods and goddesses who have arisen out of a pandemic is singularly similar in their purpose and intent of representation. The incredible sights of the emerging migrant workers, as we have seen, is actually a kind of a as I will tell you very soon, will be a kind of a representation of through artworks. Here I just want to very briefly mention the existence of gods and goddesses who have emerged out of, as one would say, pandemic that has happened earlier. So I have here referred to rather three gods. I have availed information of the image of a Carthaginian goddess recorded in the demon-turned goddess of Hariti, carved and worshipped during the deadly Justinian plague of Rome that came to India via trade routes, killing about 25 to 100 million people globally. Again, in the late 19th century, British colonial documents record the repeated waves of illness that stalked cities and the desperate pleas to goddesses. One name that I found was Plague Amma. In southern India, of course, we are aware of Mariamman, the word Mari, and I have friends here in the audience who will be able to help me more with this. With the word Mari means pox or transformation. In the eastern part of India, the goddess is known as Shitala, which is a goddess of smallpox. Her name literally means Shital, or to make it cool, or to cool fevers, and is a subaltern deity. She emerged in the 12th century AD. The goddess's iconography, and here I talk about Shitala, emphasizes their therapeutic healing powers. Shitala carries a pot of healing water, a broom to sweep away dirt, a branch of the indigenous neem tree, which is a cure for skin disease and for breathing disorders. The contagion goddesses are not angelic or gentle, as one might expect caregivers to be. They are hot-tempered, demanding, and extremely fiery by nature. They are goddesses which do not come within the pantheon. They are localized and traditionally worshipped among people of the lower caste, Dalits, tribal, and rural folk. Sometimes they are also associated with tantric practices and dark magic. In recent times, there has been the worship by women. This especially during the lockdown period, which one was able to access it on television and also on other social media, where women were known to keep fasts and perform ritual to something which they refer to as Corona Devi, in a more aesthetic appeal to such traumatic experiences that people have undergone due to COVID-19. This is kind of which resulted in state decisions and created havoc and complete disruption in the life of the daily wagers. So there are two parts of it. One, of course, the entire process of deification, the creation of gods, goddesses as a kind of support structure. And of course, what I would like to show you, and I think most of you would have even seen, the recently concluded Durga Puja in Calcutta was rife with sympathetic and tender images of traveling and displaced migrant laborers. And the goddess also appears as a corona slayer. So there were many images that were constructed in Calcutta where, the Asur became the corona virus, or, in that entire circular structure. Of this, the most widely circulated image is of that of the Borisha Club in Calcutta. The artist depicted the goddess in a manner which spoke volumes about the silently suffering laborers. The mother goddess does not wear jewelry. She does not have weapons. She holds sacks of food grains in her 10 hands, which is a kind of a relief material that she brings to the people, which was so much needed during the pandemic. Along with it, there was also the image of migrant laborer who, with her children, have made their way back home, only to turn around to look at the city they have left behind with eyes that narrate their pain and undaunting spirit. The mass appeal of such images speak of the immense pain and indomitable spirit. However, this is a representation of a third kind, where the external agency is the narrator. It is important, therefore, that we remain cognizant of the images and narratives that get registered as we live through these unprecedented times. Narrative research is expanding and will continue to do so. The registering of these narratives will require more media involvement, like the formation of blogs, websites that promote storytelling and participant engagement with stories. Migrant population, here I mean laborers moving from city to city for better opportunities, sometimes continue to be mobile, which gives them a trans state identity. And in such situations, they continue to become more and more interconnected with migrants from different states. The future of migrant narratives can be successfully assimilated through creating digital portals wherein researchers can create a pool for such narratives and stories that make them accessible for future research and awareness. So with that, I come to the end of my presentation. I just quickly want to show, with your permission, ma'am, just two photographs, I guess.
Yes, please go ahead.
I'm doing this on Zoom for the first time, so Let me just see how this works. So that's the first image that I would like to share. I'm sure all of you would have seen this. The second image that I would like to share is, should I go back? Yeah, so this is the sack of grains in the hand. This is the same image. This is in the larger pandal, as we call it, and so these are the the migrant laborers. So I just simply found this particular image perhaps the most sensitive, and it just expresses volumes. The third image that I have is that of Shitala Devi. This is the image, and this is a folk art image that I have presented before you, because there are a further, a more stylized form that is available. Okay. So with that, ma'am, I come to the end of my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am, for your informative presentation. Ma'am has insightfully explores the relevance and importance of storytelling and how the life we live today will be a story to tell tomorrow. And she also has highlighted the important factor of folklore through storytelling, reflecting the fundamentals of human experiences and through migration. Once again, thank you, ma'am. Now we would take the question in the chat box. If you have any question, please text it in your chat box, yeah. Ma'am. Okay, there is one question, ma'am, from Dr. Priyanka Sharma. Thank you, ma'am, for such an informative and nice presentation. I would like to ask that how Shitala Devi can be defined as a deity of the subaltern when even the Brahmins also worship this deity, especially in Bundelkhand region of UP.
Okay, thank you, ma'am, for your question. I speak about Shitala Devi in the context of eastern part of the country, primarily in Bengal. She emerged during the 12th century, and when the whole point of having a contagion god is, of course, the fact that it's the fear of the unknown. And that is, there's of course this entire series of gods who are part of the pantheon, the top-notch ones. If you're talking about rituals and performances of that kind, you would be well aware of the fact that rituals are primarily performed by women. And at one point of time, such ritualistic performances were within the perspective of women. So the fast would be kept by them. So this is a certain kind of, though I did mention the fact that that these performances were done mostly by, they were considered to be a subaltern deity, did not have proper structures, temples, and so on and so forth. But the inclusion and the fact that Brahmins today are also performing is by itself in a way of acceptance, and probably the possibilities that such a god has actually hit upon popular imagination. So because if you're talking about the three, you're talking about Trinity, or you're talking about the mainstream gods, they still remain within the purview of the Brahmins, that is the male performers, or the male ritual performers. Whereas the women have been traditionally been in charge of performing. So you have your vrats, you have the daily regular worshipping, the different vrats, for example, that is primarily the premise which women have, or women hold. And along with that, it has always been, I mean, if you look at it historically, it would have only perhaps been in a later stage. This I wouldn't be able to tell you exactly, but as far as the information that I have acquired, and from Bengal, they have Shitala Devi, and then there was also something called Mayat Daya. So all of them were performed and worshipped by the so there's another goddess by the name of Bon Bibi. Now, they were performed by men, but they were performed by people who were venturing out into the Sundarbans. So there was a particular purpose. These gods emerge out of, as one would consider, of a particular situation. and were relegated to this thing. Perhaps if situation goes out of hand, you need the entry and the intervention of the Brahmins to make an impact and please the gods, perhaps. So.
Thank you, ma'am. There's another question from Raina Powell. Why are the contingent gods taken as female?
Thank you, ma'am, for your question. It does occur that they're typically female. I guess one very good reason for it would be women are supposed to be caregivers. So you kind of think of women as being more kinder, more benevolent, nicer, probably easier to convince, expect something in return. So I guess it kind of fits in very well with the image of women as, as the mother figure. So you kind of, it's Ma Shitola and all of that. So the entire word Ma is very calming and also something which is very comforting. So that would be my response.
Thank you, ma'am. I hope that suffices both the questions. And there are also compliments that they have put in the chat box. You can go through later on. Yes, and if there's any more questions, you can put your questions in the chat box.
Thank you so much, Akanksha.
If there's no more questions, then we'll move on to the next presenters. Thank you, ma'am, once again.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Bye.
Now I gave time to Priyanka Datta for her presentation. Over to you, ma'am.
Hello, I'm Priyanka Datta, and I will be presenting today. And thank you, ma'am. Can I share my screen?
Yes, please do it.
Share, madam, please. You can share.
Thank you, sir. Can share. My presentation will be on bowls and their cultural influence on syncretic Hinduism in the Bengal subcontinent. My name is Priyanka Datta, and I'm a research scholar in English and Foreign Languages University, Lucknow. My research paper will be a theoretical discursive study through the cultural, societal, and political lens, and it will gaze into the perspectives of the Bengal Bhakti movement and the interrelation with the artisans of the soil, the bowls. The research tries to portray the...
Madam, sorry to interrupt you, madam. Madam?
Yes. You
download that file and open, madam. You download that file.
Okay.
In the right corner, there is option, madam, download. There are the 3 dots, download.
Sir, it's not visible.
Can you open that file, madam? Because no, it is visible, but not in proper manner.
Okay.
It's not in proper form.
Okay.
Can you open that file which you downloaded?
Yes, sir. Opening it.
One second, share the screen, madam.
Is it okay right now?
Slideshow, madam. Click on slideshow.
Okay.
Click on slideshow, madam.
Yes, sir.
In the bottom right corner.
I'm sorry, I'm doing this for the first time.
No, it's okay. In the bottom right corner, there is 64%. There is one more symbol. You can start from the beginning.
Slideshow.
In the top left corner.
Sir,
from the beginning. You can share slideshow begin the madam. From the beginning in the left corner.
It's okay right now.
Click on. No, left. No, one second. Otherwise, do one thing, madam. Come to bottom.
Okay. This is all right now.
Continue.
Okay.
Continue, please.
My research paper will be a theoretical discursive study through the cultural, societal, and political lens, and will gaze into the perspectives of the Bengal Bhakti movement and the interrelation with the artisans of the soil, the bowl. The research portrays the deep interrelations to the Bhakti movement with the Baul music, and it will be a theoretical discursive analysis of Baul music and its impressions on Bengal society historically and in the contemporary times, and this will be researched upon. The differences and similarities of Baul with other folk songs will also be seen. Uh, the research tries to get a sense through history, and it will have a few Baul songs which are being translated, and I will show them and their explanations and how different realities of the society have been embedded in the songs, like the political upheavals, discriminations, and superstitions of the different ages. And it will also show the influence and deep impressions of the Bhakti movement and the Baul system on the Bengal society, customs, literature, and culture. Okay. Um, then we go to the next slide. About the Bhakti movement and its interrelationship with the Bauls and the Vaishnavite sect. The Bhakti movement in Bengal was started by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his devotees who believed him to be Lord Krishna. His fresh approach towards the divine, the Bhakti, introduced Muslim disciples in the service of Lord Krishna, and his message was that any individual can attain Lord Krishna's affection simply by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Lord Krishna bestows blessings and divine grace on all who calls him wholeheartedly. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his disciples instill the divine grace, pure love, and emotional prayers in the songs and dances of Lord Krishna for the bestowal of divine grace, and this led to an intensely emotional movement of Bhakti Hinduism that flourished and enriched 16th century Bengal subcontinent, and slowly it was a very deeply impressive and inclusive society. The harsh, inhuman repressions of the caste system and religion differences and gender discriminations were a bit modified and lessened due to the influence of this Bhakti movement practitioners in Bengal. Mahaprabhu Chaitanya narrated the legends of Krishna and his beloved Radha's eternal divine love and its symbolism of deep love. The Chaitanya movement began in Navadvip, the saint's birthplace. The main form of worship was through ecstatic group singing, calling, and praying with kirtana. Kirtana is a singing of simple hymns with the repetition of Krishna's name, accompanied with native Bengal music instruments like dhol, ektara, dotara, ghungur, kortal, and the rapturous rhythmic swaying of the body for several hours. All this led to a state of blissful exaltation. The ecstatic, rapturous devotional practices of the movement created a great upheaval and sent waves through the orthodox and highly casteist society, contemporary society of medieval Bengal. Bhakti movement in Bengal brought a rush of freshness and the divine nectar through an extremely discriminative and divided society. To the immensely influential movement and its unique amalgamation of dancing songs of devotion for Lord Krishna, the movement embedded the emancipating principles of equality and the meaninglessness of caste, religion, or gender in the Bengali masses of the rural society. And now we will come to the Bauls of the Bengal subcontinent. Bauls are a cult of mystic minstrels practicing folk music in the Bengal subcontinent. Bauls are in the rural places of West Bengal, Tripura, and Barak Valley in Indian Bangladesh. And Bauls are an inclusive syncretic sect and practices the simple music of the soil and the rural people and the rural simplistic regional Bangla dialects. There is immense diversity and novelty in the artistic accomplishments of the Bauls. They are a heterogeneous sect and their membership consists of Vaishnava Hindus and Sufi Muslims. The Bauls have a very colorful and striking way of dressing, and their musical instruments are dhol, khol, aktara, dotara, etc. Ghungu also, which are absolutely indigenous native instruments. Lalung Fakir is one of the most celebrated Bauls of Bengal. Baul songs unify Western Bengal, India and Bangladesh. Baul songs are transmitted through oral traditions. They have been transmitted orally through centuries. Bauls invoke their divine beloved by calling him Allah, Ahad, Munir Manush, the man of heart, Shonar কি মানুষ এটা সহজ মানুষ, the natural man, Shonar Manush, the golden person, and Ochim Paki, the unknown bird, Shai Shai, Lord Krishna, and so on and so forth. Bowls are a unifying folklore in other sense, which makes us strong, and it has a strong bond between the Hindus and the Muslims. The entire philosophy of Baul centers around the philosophy of Dehotattva, truth in the body. That is why Baul philosophy is human-centric, just like other tantric sects. Baul songs not only unify different countries but also unify the body and the self of the Baul singer with the Almighty God. The name of Baul refers to a type of religious minstrel or esoteric practitioner, Sadhak, the Bengali-speaking region of South Asia, that is West Bengal, and Bangladesh. Bowls are primarily known for their beautiful and often enigmatic songs. In theory, people of any religion, class, caste, or gender may be a bowl. But in practice, almost all bowls come from poor rural Hindu or Muslim backgrounds. Bowls have been the subject of many written works, especially in Bengali, by many eminent authors, and also like in later in 1960s and later it was also bowls have been widely studied in English literature and international literature as well. And in like folk literatures of the world, it is also included by UNESCO. Live performances of bowls include a stage play by Sudipta Chatterjee and also a very famous movie by Gautam Ghosh, Moner Manush. And Moner Manush is based on a novel by the same name by the eminent author Shumil Gangopadhyay. Nuances of translation in Baul music and literature. The hazards of translation are very challenging if we consider Baul songs and Baul songs of uh, Baul legends like Lalon Foke and Bhavo Pagla, and like because the texts are very related to the soil and the language, any translation which might be made is at the best misleading, and not only for the impressive quality of Bengali realia, but also because the nature of language of Baul songs themselves, because the songs have a multiple variation of meanings, and like due to the polysemy and the ambiguity of the lyrics, it is extremely difficult to translate. Without an extremely long commentary, any translation could exclude not only nuances but like the various diverse levels of meanings, leaving the interpretation of the syntax largely up to the reader. Even ordinary words are used in unconventional ways. This and the extremely eclectic use of linguistic registers, bouncing from the archaic to the colloquial and from the Sanskritic to the Arabic flavored, make a faithful translation an almost impossible accomplishment. The best choice is to keep the translation as literally as possible, leaving the reader free to choose his own interpretive strategy. Apart from limitations imposed by the genre itself, translation hardly can do justice to the sonic and poetic beauty of the originals. For for the translate for the translation's concern is not to present aesthetically enjoyable poetry, but rather to make a fully translated song text for a matter of accuracy and completeness. And there is also the problem of ownership of songs. Like Baul songs are always like till a century ago they were always being propagated orally, and there were also written documents by the disciples of many of the like many legends like Lalon Fokir and Bhavo Pagla. But then also mostly it was has been transmitted orally to the centuries. Scholars editing Lalon songs do not face the same problem as those who edit poems of earlier Bhakti poets like Kabir or Mira. This is not only because of the comparatively recent date of the tradition, because Lalon died in 1980, but also because of the mode of transmission of the songs by Lalon Panthi Fakirs and Fakirs of other lineage. The Fakirs memorize the songs and attempt to reproduce them as closely as possible to the text taught by the Gurus. They consider it reprehensible to change the words of a song by Lalon. It will take a singer to task for placing Lalon's name in the bhonita of a song they know to be composed by another poet. Attention to preserving the songs in writing began during Lalon's time, although the weight of evidence indicate that Lalon himself composed orally. According to an eyewitness account, he could not read or write. However, disciples recorded the songs in notebooks, and they have handed down. And like whenever any song is recorded by a disciple, They're handed down from guru to disciple and inscribed with the names of the successive owners. They're consulted when singers forget the words of songs and need to refresh their memories. A very significant fact about the Baul music and the Baul era of life is the position of women. The women in Baul society hold quite a high position and a lot of respect. Women Bauls Pagi have a lot of respect in the Baul community. Women Bauls are also called Nadi woman, May girl, Shakti the power, mother and Prakriti nature. Female partners acquired the first position among three types of gurus which the Bauls recognize: Diksha Guru, Shiksha Guru and Ved Guru. Female partners form the highest form of Guru, Diksha Guru. This is why within the Baul Prakriti Shakti is given more Prakriti Shakti, which is like female Shakti, is given more importance than Puruja, the male principle. Women bowls were looked down upon by the then Orthodox society, but now it is a bit uncommon. From the 14th century, Western religion movement of mistress constantly witnessed dominant forces centered in and around religious places of worship. Bowls seek to maintain between the female and male principle a balance, and that is why the Bowel community is recognized all over the world for practicing indiscrimination with women. Influence of modernization and technology on bowls. Bowls is almost like all other folklores and folk forms of art. The bowl music and their way of life is also endangered because of globalization and technological interventions. Authentic bowl songs, like earlier, it was very widespread in the rural areas, but now with time, it has become a bit rare. And but the good news is that globalization has also saved bowls and their unique music when it is redirected in the right direction. When we search for bowl songs of Bengal in YouTube, there will be thousand videos, but like there will be thousand videos, and many of them will be from fake bowls who glamorize bowl songs in order to fetch fame and money. But we will also find some authentic, genuine bowl singing and their videos which are being documented. So it is like so that thing is there, and the bowls and their immense influence on Gurudev Rabindranath Tagore. Rabindranath Tagore has been called the greatest bowl of Bengal by S. Dasgupta, and the national anthem of India and Bangladesh, which have been written by him, were primarily Western bowl songs. The national anthem of Bangladesh, Amar Sonar Bangla, written by Rabindranath Tagore, was based on the melody of the bowl song Kothay Pabo Amar Moner Manush Ere. And like right now, worried over the extinction of bowl music, UNESCO in the year 2004 declared bowl songs an intangible heritage of humanity in the category of traditional performing arts. And now we will come to the who is a bowl, the origin and the distinction of bowl based on religion. To be a real bowl, one has to be mad. In other words, one has to be a real bowl or kappa. Scattered hair, long, colorful robes form a distinctive identity of bowl singers. Bowl can be like Hindus or Muslims who are called Sufis, and but um, Kappa has been accepted as a honorific for the bowls. Within a broader spectrum, the bowl is used to define members of the singing community. Bowl community is a nomadic community and follows the practices of bhakti devotional tradition is also Sufi, a genre of Sufi songs. They roam around and collect alms. Bowls are called emperor without clothes, fakirs, or even transcendental madmen. It is also believed that the word bowl does not originate from the bowl themselves. It is a result of the politics of higher class. For them, it was initially used by the Bhadralok Bengali elite as a derogative term. Baul singers of West Bengal are more inclined towards Hinduism. There is no consensus on the authentic source of origin of the word Baul and its literal meaning. The etymological origin is disputed. According to Sri Chandra Baul, in Bengali, Baul means Batula, which means mad or insane. This madness is because of the Vat dosha, error of the air in the body, also known as wind disease, as as consulted in Ayurveda. This madness is caused by the imbalance of the element Vata in the brain. And like types of bowl. Bowl men wore ochre-colored Punjabi, a long shirt usually worn with plain pants. They wore saffron rope-colored turbans to cover their heads. The clothes of bowls can be made up of some colorful patches of clothes. Women wear saris. The bowls have been divided into three kinds. Grihi, the ones who live in the family system. Udash bowl, the bowl who renounce everything. Shilpi bowl, the ones who sing and perform bowl songs. All bowls are brilliant divine poets and even composers who, without worldly diplomas or degrees, write and sing. They use wide terminology full of cryptic codes in their songs, which are decorated with the concepts of Sufism, Hindu tantric principles, Vaishnava, and Shahaja literature. While defining the songs of a bowl, it is to be kept in mind that only the bowls sing bowl songs. The bowl community and bowl songs is tremendous oral tradition which is on the verge of extension, and even Rabindranath Tagore recognized himself as a bowl and primarily followed the bowl philosophy. Some musical instruments used by bowl singers. Kortal, hand kortal. It is a small rectangular shaped instrument made up of wood with many holes in it. In this holes, a small bell is fixed, creating enough space for fingers to hold it. Hole. It is a two-sided drum resembling the mridanga. It is played with the palm and fingers on both sides of the drum heads. It is tied up with gajra. Honjoni. It is an instrument which belongs to the tambourine family. In this instrument, pairs of jingles are attached with a small and circular drum. On one side, it is left open. It is played with palm and fingers. Hammock, a small bowl-like drum which is attached and plucked with strings. It is held under the arm of bowl artist. The strings are plucked in a rhythm. The echo effect produced by the comma gives a mystical dimension to the song. Dotara. Do means two, whereas Tara means chords. It is an instrument having two or more than two strings attached with an upright wooden structure. Ek Tara. Ek means one, whereas Tara means chord. How bowls perform. The drum serves a dual role as both a rhythmic rhythm instrument and a drone instrument. A bowl song normally consists of three or four stanzas, a refrain that is repeated in the beginning of the song and after each stanza, and a couplet that precedes the refrain and appears again at the end of the song. The bhunita usually appears in the last lines of the final stanza. It is the name of the and the bhunita consists of the name of the composer who speaks of himself and may give his ultimate opinion on the song's theme or even twist it and present it in a subtle way. His compositions and the nature of their performance are profoundly rooted in the history of Bengal and the history of unorthodox Hindu movement.
Excuse me, ma'am. Ma'am, can you please wind up your paper in 2 minutes time?
Yes. I will wind you up. Okay. Performance of bowl literature and the differences. As Bronislaw Malinowski stated much before any performance-based theory emerged, that the text, of course, is extremely important, but without the context, it remains lifeless. This is the problem with translation of bowl music. The stories live a native life and not on paper, and when a scholar jots them down without being able to evoke the atmosphere in which they flourish, he has given us only a mutilated piece of the reality. Writing down and transcribing a poem involves lifting it from an oral performance and detaching it from the drum skin, the buzzing string of the dotara, the dancer's code, the audience reciting its refrain. And also like Baul, the study is of esoteric and mystical literature. And in Baul music, sex is seen as a natural and passionate art for reaching God. A distinction between great tradition and little traditions in the context of the bouts of the Bengal subcontinent. Traditionally, Indian culture recognizes a distinction between Marga, the high road, and Desi, the byway, the country road. A distinction also referred to as little tradition or traditions in plural, and the great tradition with capitals and in singular carried by Sanskrit in prestigious, ancient, and authorized texts. Here, the great tradition is the Bhakti movement, and the little traditions are the Baul songs and all other forms of folk music. Like I have included two Baul legends, like one is Lalon Shai or Lalon Foke, and another is Bhabo Pagla, and I have also included some of their songs. One is Amar Apon Khabor. One song by Lalon Shai is ঘরের চাবি পরের হাতে কেমনে খুলিয়া সে ধাম দেখাবো চোখেতে. The translation means a stranger has the keys to my house, so how can I unlock the door and see with my own eyes the treasures inside? It is my house that's full of gold, but the stranger makes all the deals. I was born blind and can't see what's going on. Perhaps the doorkeeper will agree to let me in, but tell me, how will I find this doorkeeper? I travel the wrong road. Oh, mind the one they call the manual is in this person. Lalan says this treasure is mine, but I don't know of it. And another song by Bhabo Pagla is Nodi Bhora Deu, Dheu Bojhe Na To Keu. This translation I have taken from a like English translated text, and it means the river is full of webs. Nobody understands these things. Why are you rowing the boat all by yourself? I put my hope in the helmsman of the universe. Leave the helm and give it to her. You don't know how to row a boat while holding the helm. And this way the song goes. The Bauls of the Bengal subcontinent influence on Bengal. The name Baul refers to a type of religious minstrel or esoteric practitioner sadhu of the Bengali-speaking region of South Asia, West Bengal and Bangladesh. Bauls are primarily known for their beautiful and
Please sign up your paper.
yes, ma'am. In 1 minute. Baul music celebrates celestial love, but is in very earthly terms. The liberal interpretation of love in Baul music is devotional music, and it transcends religion. And the most famous Baul, Lalon, criticized the superficiality of religious divisions. Our conclusion: due to the great crusade of enlightenment and upliftment of the Baul music, the status of the human society in the Bengal continent led to like major shift in the Bengali psyche and collective identity. It created a better inclusive consciousness irrespective of caste, gender, religion, and the society became less rigid and discriminative. The later flourishing arts, culture, and academia in Bengal, I personally feel, is a contribution of the embracive Bhakti movement. The movement greatly influenced Bengal and forever changed its collective Bengali identity and the dominant discourses on culture, gender, caste, and religion. It created a better inclusive consciousness, irrespective of religion and gender, where the divisions are less rigid and discriminative. Yes, I have like concluded.
Thank you, ma'am, for your informative presentation. And ma'am has insightfully explored the relevance and importance of storytelling, the theoretical discursive study of the balls through cultural, societal, and political time, and also brought us into the perspectives of the Bengal medieval Bhakti movement and their interrelations with the artisans of the ball. She also has shared us the political upheaval and superstition of different ages and time where time have been uniquely synchronized in through the Ball's song. Once again, thank you, ma'am, for your wonderful presentation. Now I'll take the questions from the chat box. There's one question from Raina Powell. The question is, how is the concept of Dwani related to Ball singing system?
Ma'am, can you repeat the question?
How is the concept of Dwani related to Ball singing system?
How is the concept
of? Is the concept of Dwani related to Ball singing system?
Acha Dhoni, huh? Ma'am, I will be I have just started my research on this thing. I will explore that topic. Like I haven't explored it till now.
Okay. There is another question from Ma'am Ratnatama Das. Thanks for your presentation, but perhaps I missed one word regarding 3 types of guru, where you mentioned about female Baal guru. Would you please tell the 3 types of gurus?
The three types of gurus are
Yes, ma'am.
Diksha Guru, Shiksha Guru, and Bhek Guru. And female bowls enjoy a very high position in the bowl community, and they are called Diksha Gurus.
Thank you, ma'am. I hope that answers to the questions of ma'am. With this, we have come to the end of our first session of today. And before I wind up our session, I would like to thank our HOD, who is not with us today, but still I would like to convey my thanks to our HOD, PC Night and our convener, and for organizing this kind of platform, this kind of webinar in this platform, especially in this time of pandemic. And my special thank to Dr. Venkat Maramaya for handling all these technical issues and connecting us all through the sessions. And I also thank the paper presenters for wonderfully presenting your paper in spite of this time constraint. And I hope if you were given more time, I hope that you will be able to present more of your thoughts. We would like to hear more of your thoughts and your informative, your ideas in the days to come also. And I also thanked all the participants who are here today in these sessions for your time and your patience. I request all of you to join the next session that will be happening again in the afternoon at 2 p.m. Sir?
Thank you so much. You have completed at the exact
Do you have
time.
anything to say?
Yeah, we all are going to meet at 2 p.m. Thank you so much. Once again,
Thank you,
request
sir.
to all, please come and join at 2 p.m. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Thank you.